Do you know, at this point I've made 4 pairs of these things. That's 8 little slimy 2-toed turtle feet. They haunt my nightmares. How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the Hobby Hole. And today, in the 4th part of our Mutant Mayhem series, we're making Leo. And this is the culmination of everything we've been making in the last 4 parts, so if you haven't seen those, perhaps go back and take a look. The cards for them should be appearing just about now. As always, our first step is to make an armature skeleton for Leo. When we've got the 2 halves of his body all bent to shape and ready, we need something to hold them together. Yeah, that'll do. Since we're happy with the shape of our armature wire, we can go ahead and wrap around it a bunch of this smaller armature wire. Not only does this give more structure to the skeleton, it also gives the clay something to grip onto. And with our layers upon layers of wire wired together, we can start to slap on a load of clay. And because I know my audience, one of the first things I'll do is add these buns of steel. You won't see them in the final product, they'll be hidden under the shell, but you can sleep safely at night knowing that they're there. Next up, we'll add the front part of his shell, or the bottom part, depending on the way you're looking at it. And yes, you'll have noticed at this stage, I've given up trying to pronounce the correct names for each part of the shell. Checkmate, inch by inch art. Anyway, once we've split up the sections of the front part of the shell, we can move on to the back part of the shell, or the main shell itself. We'll use a scrunch to shape piece of tin foil to bulk out the main part of the shell, and then cover that over with some clay. And so my stabbing doesn't become too stabby, we'll cover it over with a bit of cling film. Now previously, we've always made the edges of the shell by rolling out a piece of clay by hand. But because I put a lot of effort into finding new ways to be lazy, this cake fondant squeezing thing fits perfectly into my eternal search for things that need minimal effort but give maximum effect, but probably turn out to be more of an effort than was originally necessary. But hey, it does this. Cool. So we'll squeeze onto the edge of the shell our freshly made tear-shaped sausage, before adding on those all-important gnarly lumps and bumps. Once we've softened up those details with a bit of rubbing alcohol, we can get to work on the main sections of the back of the shell. We'll lay down some roughly shaped hexagonal bits of clay before trimming off the edges. Then we'll get to work on texturing the shell before adding those swirly bits in. Man, I can't tell if it's really great not having to use the technical terms, or if I just sound really stupid.
The second one, definitely the second one.
I guess we'll never know. After that, it's onto the scars and battle damage, before using the cake fondant thing to squeeze us out a belt strap. That same strap will get wrapped around Leo, and he's quite different from his brothers in that he's the only one that's got an additional strap going over his shoulder. But before we can place that, we need to bulk up his traps a little bit. And with Leo looking suitably jacked in his shoulder area, we can now lay down that shoulder strap. In the meantime, we've also been building up his arms, which will also get a slathering of rubbing alcohol to smooth them all off. And all this anatomy talk has reminded me to go back and add some tendons and stuff to other parts of the body, like the feet. And with that stomach-curdling imagery out of the way, we can now move on to more pleasant things, like adding Leo's belt buckle. Then we can also start to add his knee and elbow bandage things. Are they bandages or are they elbow pads? Who knows? There's no way to tell. Putting the deep questions of the universe aside for one second, let's move on to making Leo's head. We'll start by stabbing some eye sockets into his head, before gouging out a big mouth. Then we'll give his snout a bit more definition, before bulking out the cheeks on his face, to match the bulkiness of the cheeks under his shell. Then we'll give him some mean looking eyeballs, add some furrowed, frowning eyebrows to reflect his ferocious feelings, give his toothless trap a twist of toothy clay, and then add the mask. What? Not everything needs to rhyme. So let's have a look at our progress so far. Head, good. Arms, nice. Torso, yeah. But what's up with them legs? You done goofed, Carl. By my estimation, his calves are a good 6mm to a centimetre too short. Time for some drastic surgery. Off camera, I'll shove some milliput in the gaps between the calves and the feet, which will give them suitable extensions. And that's Leo himself pretty much done. Let's move on to making some accessories. We'll once again grab our cake fondant shaping thingy, which for simplicity's sake I will call Gerald. We'll flatten the clay a little bit to make it more rectangular in shape, and then we'll cut off 2 pieces that are more or less equally lengthed. And these will become the sheaths or scabbards for Leo's katanas. And because everyone knows that extra bandages are just the coolest, we'll add a bunch to Leo's sheaths with Wanton Abandon. Then we'll just add these little stringy bits of clay, which will give the idea that the whole thing's held together by some rope. Off camera, I've made this blade end of one of Leo's katanas, which will stick into the end of the sheath. Next goes on the top part of the blade, before adding the hilt. And I said before that I'd pretty much completed Leo, but I forgot two very important parts. His hands, which weirdly I prefer much more to his feet, even though they're basically just the same. Anyway, once we've added said hands and some wrist wraps, it's time for a painting montage. Hey, so just in case you're a little bit confused, that last shot was a paper bag containing all of the turtle's groceries. If you've seen the film, you'll get it. But with the painting done, let's move on to the base. Which is very simple. We're just going to make the top of a brick wall that'll match the brickwork in our other turtle dioramas. And then all that's left to do is to write the shopping list that Leo holds tight in his hands. And then I think we're just about done here. Well folks, that brings us to the end of another video, and the end, sadly, of our Mutant Mayhem series. It was a fun ride, but if I never see another turtle foot, I'll be a happy man. This is the part where I do all the like and subscribe spiel, so do that if you'd like. I'd really appreciate your subscription. It's free and it really helps out the channel. You might be asking yourself, what's next on the hobby hole? Well, I feel like doing something big, as in large in size. Maybe something video game related, maybe something Zelda related. Yeah, I think we'll do that. But as always, until the next one, cheers! and have a good one.